good to have you join me on Global News in Zuma, Nigeria. Let's begin the news with Marcus addresses nation with focus on economy. Duterte rifts loom. Biden withdraws from race, endorses Harris. World leaders react to Biden exiting election race. Bangladesh court ends job quotas following deadly unrest and crowd strike, says many devices restored after outage. Stay with me for these and more stories. In Mexico, the arrival of guests at the annual State of the Nation address in the Philippines has come to resemble a Hollywood premiere over the last decade. Lawmakers and officials showcase fleshy examples and gush over their designers as they head inside the halls of Congress to hear the president's report. Opposition leaders and figures have often used the occasion to brandish dissenting slogans and images on their clothing. But ahead of President Ferdinand Marcos Jr.'s third address on Monday, the House of Representatives has barred any such attire. House Secretary General Reginald Velasco, who is tasked with enforcing the orders and decisions of the chamber, said earlier this month it is not a day of protest. As Marcos Jr. makes his address, tens of thousands of demonstrators are anticipated to march on Congress in the torrential July rains. Some 22,000 police officers are being deployed to keep protesters away from Parliament. While Marcos Jr. is expected to tout the progress he has made in implementing an economic agenda focused on infrastructure construction and attracting foreign investment, the protests come amid growing public discontent over inflation and slow wage growth. In an opinion poll released by Pulse Asia Research earlier this month, 72% of Filipinos said that controlling the rising cost of basic goods should be the number one priority for the government ahead of low wages, poverty, and joblessness. In the same poll, Marcos Jr.'s trust rating fell 5 percentage points compared to March to 52%. The address itself has also drawn criticism due to its cost. The government has earmarked 20 million Philippine pesos, that's $352,000 for the preparations, which includes food for over 2,000 guests, the highest ever for a State of the Nation address. On 2024 United States election, Joe Biden, United States President, has heeded calls to withdraw his re-election bid, thrusting this year's already high-wire race for the White House into an uncertain territory. Sunday's announcement by the oldest sitting president in the U.S. history came amid mounting pressure from his fellow Democrats, with more than 30 Congress members publicly pushing for his exit. In a post, Biden 81 said he will remain in his role as president and commander-in-chief until his term ends in January 2025 and will address the nation this week. It has been the greatest honor of my life to serve as president, and while it has been my intention to seek re-election, I believe it is in the best interest of my party and the country for me to stand down and to focus solely on fulfilling my duties as president for the remainder of my term, Biden wrote. His initial statement did not include an endorsement of Vice President Kamala Harris, but he followed up a few minutes later with an expression of support. Harris, 59, will become the first black woman to run at the top of a major party ticket in the country's history. Biden's historic move, the first sitting president to give up his party's nomination for re-election since President Lyndon Johnson in March 1968, leaves his replacement with less than 4 months to wage a campaign. Still reacting to Joe Biden, world leaders have offered their reactions to United States President Joe Biden's decision to end his uncertain re-election campaign after weeks of pressure driven by concerns over his age and fitness. Israeli President Isaac Herzog expressed gratitude to Biden for his friendship and steadfast support for the Israeli people over his decades-long career. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said his country respected Biden's tough but strong decision and was grateful for his unwavering support as he fought to repel Russia's invasion. Dmitry Peskov, Kremlin spokesperson, said that Moscow was more focused on winning the war in Ukraine than the outcome of the U.S. election. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer said he respected Biden's decision and looked forward to working with him during the remainder of his presidency. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau hailed Biden as a great man whose every action was guided by his love for his country. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese expressed thanks to Biden for his leadership and ongoing service. Olaf Scholz, German Chancellor, said his friend Biden had achieved a lot for his country, for Europe, and the entire world. Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez said Biden had made a brave and significant decision. Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk praised Biden for taking many difficult decisions, thanks to which Poland, America, and the world are safer and democracy even stronger. Czech Prime Minister Petr Fiala said Biden's decision was that of a statesman who has served his country for decades. And Irish Prime Minister Simon Harris praised Biden as a voice for a reason, effective multilateralism and shared solutions. Joe Biden, in all the offices he has held, has always been an unwavering voice and passionate worker for peace on the island of Ireland, and our country owes him a great debt. For this, Harris said in a statement. Away from US 2024 elections, now top court in Bangladesh has cracked most of the quotas on government jobs that has sparked violent clashes across the country that have killed over 100 people. A third of public sector jobs had been reserved for the relatives of veterans from the country's war for independence from Pakistan in 1971. But now the court has ruled just 5% of the roles can be reserved for veterans' relatives. Law Minister Anusu Hook said the government will implement the ruling within days. Some student leaders have promised to continue protesting. Hook also denied that Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, who has been in power since 2009, was losing her grip on Bangladesh. He blamed opposition forces for joining the protest and destroying the symbols of Bangladesh's development. Several protest movement coordinators said, according to reports, that action will continue until the government took action. Nusrat Tabassum, one coordinator, said, and I quote, "We applaud the court's verdict, but our main demand is with the executive department. Until those demands are implemented, the ongoing nationwide complete shutdown program will continue." The students' demands also include justice for protesters killed in recent days, the release of detained protest leaders, the restoration of internet services, and resignations of government ministers. Streets in the capital, Dhaka, are deserted as a second day of curfew is in force, but sporadic clashes continued even after the Supreme Court ruling. Around 115 people are known to have died, but according to reports, a much higher casualty figure says at least 50 people were killed on Friday alone. The Supreme Court ruling orders that 93% of public sector jobs should be recruited on merit, leaving 5% for the family members of the veterans of the country's independence war. A remaining 2% is reserved for people from ethnic minorities or with disabilities. Scrapped in 2018 by Hasina's government, the quota system was reinstated by a lower court last month, sparking the protest. The government responded with a harsh crackdown, including a curfew and a communications blackout. Protest coordinators say police and the student wing of the governing Awami League, known as the Bangladesh Chatra League, have been using brutal force against peaceful demonstrators. The government denies these claims. Many people have been detained by the authorities. Nahid Islam, a coordinator of the quota reform movement, alleged that he had been subjected to physical and mental torture. Now, cybersecurity firm CrowdStrike says a significant number of devices that were impacted by a global IT outage on Friday are now back online. In a post, the company, whose faulty security update said Microsoft Windows computers to crash around the world, added it continues to focus on restoring all systems. Microsoft has estimated that the incident, which is being described as one of the worst IT outages in history, affected 8.5 million computers around the world. Businesses, banks, hospitals, and airlines were among the worst hit, with some still battling to fully restore their systems. The firm also said it is deploying a new fix that it hoped will speed up the recovery of computer systems. CrowdStrike, however, did not say how many devices were still being affected. Over 1,400 flights into or out of the United States were cancelled on Sunday, according to aviation tracking and data platform FlightAware. Delta and United Airlines were the worst affected U.S. airlines. Health services in Britain, Israel, and Germany were also impacted on Friday, with some services cancelled. The massive outage has put a spotlight on the vulnerability of global computer networks, showing how a single glitch can cause global chaos. The chair of the U.S. Federal Trade Commission, Lina Khan, in a social media post said, and I quote, "All too often these days, a single glitch results in a system-wide outage affecting industries from healthcare and airlines to banks and auto dealers. These incidents reveal how concentration can create fragile systems." Until this incident, the company had been one most trusted brands in the cybersecurity industry. According to CrowdStrike's website, it has 29,000 customers around the world, including some of the biggest companies in the United States. One major economy largely unscathed by the outage was China, as CrowdStrike is not widely used in the country. China is also not as reliant on Microsoft as the rest of the world. On health matters and on more stories now in India. India issues alert after boy dies from Nipah virus. In India's Kerala state, health authorities have issued an alert after a 14-year-old boy died of the Nipah virus. An additional 60 people have been identified as being in the high-risk category of having the disease, according to the state health minister. Kerala Health Minister Veena George said the boy, who was from the town of Pandikad, and that those who came into contact with him have been isolated and tested. People in the area have been asked to take precautions such as wearing masks in public areas and refraining from visiting people in hospital. The Nipah virus infection is a zoonotic illness transmitted from animals like pigs and fruits back to humans, according to the World Health Organization, WHO. It can also be transmitted through contaminated food and through contact with an infected person. The WHO has described the virus as a priority pathogen by the WHO because it is potential to trigger an epidemic. The virus has been connected to dozens of deaths in Kerala state since it was first reported there in 2018. On Sunday, the 14-year-old died just a day after he was confirmed to have the virus, according to reports. It can also be transmitted through contaminated food and through contact with an infected person. Parts of Kerala are said to be the most at risk globally for the virus. An investigation, according to a report last year, found that Kerala, which is a tropical state and is witnessing rapid urbanization and rapid trade loss, created ideal conditions for a virus like Nipah to emerge. Experts say that due to habitat loss, animals are living in closer proximity to humans, and this helps the virus jump from animals to humans. The state government recently announced that it was creating an action plan to prevent a Nipah outbreak. Authorities in Kerala state closed schools and offices after confirming 5 cases just last year. Back to U.S. 2024 elections, Biden's non-re-election triggers public debate. On Sunday, President Joe Biden made a surprising announcement disclosing that he will not seek re-election against Donald Trump. This decision, shared on social media, triggered a stir in the political landscape and added a new layer of uncertainty to the upcoming election. Alex Wills, a Democratic voter from Beaverton, Oregon, said his diminished capacity was obvious to everyone. You can see it. It is really sad to see someone go through that. So hard, difficult, and sad. Following his disastrous performance in the televised debate against Donald Trump on June 27th, numerous Democratic lawmakers advised him to abandon his bid for re-election. Joe Biden pledged to provide more insight into his decision in a forthcoming address to the nation. In a show of support, Biden endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris as the new Democratic candidate, with Harris expressing determination to secure the nomination. Meanwhile, Republican leaders criticized Harris, holding her partly accountable for the present administration's policies. Former President Donald Trump questioned Biden's fitness for office and advocated for moving the next debate from ABC to the Fox News channel, which he views as more favorable to his stance. In African scenes, AU tackles integration issues at Ghana conference. On Sunday, the African Union AU convened in Ghana to address issues related to African integration and to establish a unified stance before engaging with the G20 and the United Nations. Mauritania's president and present African Union chair, Mohamed Cheikh Ghazouani, urged for the acceleration of the African integration process. He emphasized the significance of expediting economic integration to support the continent and fulfill the aspirations of African citizens. Discussions during the meeting centered on financing mechanisms for African Union projects, mainly the funding of the organization itself, which heavily relies on contributions from non-African partners. Moussa Faki Mahamat, African Union Commission chairperson, highlighted the necessity for member countries to present a united front in upcoming engagements with international partners. He stressed the importance of speaking with one voice at major global forums, including the G20, where the African Union now holds membership. With ongoing regional instability in West Africa, ECOWAS nations Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso risk losing their members due to military coups that ousted democratically elected leaders in this country. These nations have been under threat from terrorist organizations affiliated with Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State for years. Now we take a short break, and when we come back, I'll bring you stories from Nigeria. Don't go anywhere. You're welcome back. Now, zoom on Nigeria. We begin with Tinubu calls for unity, highlights ECOWAS issues at AU. Yesterday, President Bola Tinubu in Accra, Ghana, addressed African leaders on the status of ECOWAS, stressing the progress so far made by the West African Economy Bloc and the prevailing challenges. Presenting the achievements of ECOWAS in the past 1 year at the 6th Mid-Year Coordination Meeting of the African Union AU, President Tinubu, who is the chairman of ECOWAS, Authority of Heads of State and Government, in a statement by presidential spokesperson Ajuri Ngalale on Sunday, said the community has activated a standby force to counter terrorism and will continue to explore funding options. The Nigerian president said ECOWAS has been supporting member states to improve electoral and governance processes and recently deployed election observation missions to Senegal and Togo, both of which elections were adjudged to be peaceful, transparent, and fair. He also emphasized the facilitation of the signing of an agreement for national unity in Sierra Leone, noting that the sub-regional body will continue to work with stakeholders in the country to implement the provisions of the agreement. The president revealed that consultations were ongoing to revise the ECOWAS 2001 supplementary protocol on democracy and good governance. On economic integration, President Tinubu said ECOWAS has implemented activities to consolidate the free trade area, customs union, and common markets. Detailing the efforts in the humanitarian and social development front, President Tinubu said ECOWAS has allocated $9 million to support persons of concern, including refugees, internally displaced persons, and asylum seekers. For grounding the progress on energy, mines, and agriculture, President Tinubu said ECOWAS was advancing electrification efforts in the Gambia, Guinea-Bissau, and Mali through the ECOWAS Regional Electricity Access Project, ECOREAP. And finally on the news, Tinubu palliative delay of 740 rice trucks sparks anxiety in the country. According to a report, only a few states appear to have received the 20 trucks of rice palliative earmarked for each of the 36 states by the federal government, and the issue is causing anxiety across the country. A survey at the weekend shows no northern state apart from Kano had received the consignment of rice, while in the southwest, only Oyo claimed that the trucks have arrived. Akwa Ibom, Rivers, and Bayelsa state officials in the south-south confirmed receiving the latest palliative, while others said they had not arrived. As of Friday noon, Delta State government said the rice had not been received, while Edo and Cross River state officials did not respond to inquiries. Last Monday, the federal government had said it had allocated 740 trucks of rice to the 36 states of the Federation at the Federal Capital Territory, FCT, Abuja. Each state, including the Federal Capital Territory, under the arrangement, is anticipated to get 20 trucks containing 1,200 bags of 25 kg each, and the rice is to be distributed to the most vulnerable in the society. Mohammed Idris, the Minister of Information and National Orientation, disclosed this while briefing at the end of the Federal Executive Council FEC meeting presided over by the President Bola Tinubu at the Council Chamber Presidential Villa in Abuja. The minister, who was flanked by the Special Advisor to the President on Information and Strategy, Bayo Onanuga, said the President directed the Minister of Agriculture to ensure that food is made available to Nigerians. He explained that the distribution of trucks of rice was also to ensure that the hardship in the country is improved, adding that it's expected that the state governors will distribute the trucks of rice to the most vulnerable. A recap of major stories says Marcus addresses nation with focus on economy to rift loom. Biden withdraws from race, endorses Harris. World leaders react to Biden exiting election race. Bangladesh court ends job quotas following deadly unrest, and CrowdStrike says many devices restored after outage. That's all on the news. Thanks for watching. I am Lois Turaki. Enjoy the rest of the week.